Hi, thanks so much for joining in. You're watching Ask Profit on NDTV Profit, and my name is Alex Mathew. This show gets you answers to all of your stock-related questions, and to that end, if you've got them for us, send them on the number that you see flashing on your screen right now. It's looking like a pretty picture for the Indian equity markets at the end of the trading week, and you have the benchmark Nifty 50 that's trading comfortably with gains of about 1% or thereabouts, and at 25,700 or thereabouts, very close to that mark. All-time highs in the vicinity, and you have the broader markets that are, well, if not trading with gains of that extent, they're still looking buoyant with gains of about 0.75% or thereabouts. And after yesterday's drubbing that some of the mid-caps took, this is something that will please the traders and the investors on Dalal Street. Small cap index up as much as 1% or so at this point, and so therefore the market breadth looking favorable and sanguine at this point. Let's pull that up as well to see how it looks. And indeed, it is a pretty picture here as well. There are about 3 gainers for every loser on Dalal Street right now. Let's talk about the key contributors on the Nifty 50, and that should also give you an indication as to what is pulling the benchmark higher. You have the financial names that are doing well. ICICI Bank leading the pack in terms of the contributors. You have HDFC Bank that's also contributing on the upside today. A few of the IT names looking a little weak, but not dropping too much. TCS losing just a little bit, so is Axis Bank and Cipla. Let's take a look at the sectoral picture as well, because that is also going to perhaps indicate the kind of texture that you're seeing, and it's a green across the screen. With even the pharma index, despite the fact that it's flat or thereabouts, it's still trading in the green. The gains, of course, being led by the metal index, and you also have auto that is looking quite buoyant in trade today. The PSE index also looking quite good. Let's talk about IIFL Finance, because this is a stock that is arguably the stock of the day. More of a relief rally coming through for this stock, because it's been a troubled company. It's faced regulatory headwinds and something of a breather coming through in the form of the restart of the gold business that is going to take place now. We've got Vishy joining in to give you some perspective on what the context is. Vishy, it's been a while for this company, and it was going through quite a bit of headwinds. In fact, it was nearly going to face a rating downgrade is what you found out. What can you tell us about the latest here?
Right. So, Alex, 7 months is what it took for the RBI to be convinced that IIFL Finance had addressed all the liability issues as well as compliance issues at the company. And after that, now the Reserve Bank of India has decided to move out of these problems and try to remove the restrictions that it had placed on the gold loan business at IIFL Finance. Remember that the book was about 26,000 odd crore as of March, which got cut down to about 12,000 crore as of August, and this runoff was likely to continue for a while. That's what sources were telling us. In fact, the company was expecting a rating downgrade, as you mentioned earlier, but also the company was looking to lay off certain employees because of the losses that they were facing on the gold loan business. Now, obviously, all of these problems seem to have passed because the Reserve Bank of India has removed these restrictions. Hopefully, the company will start the gold lending business again, and that should sort of stabilize that portfolio, which had seen some amount of contraction during the first quarter of this financial year, Alex.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Vishy, for giving us the context there, and that presents the perfect opportunity for me to introduce our experts today. We've got Astha Jain, who's a senior research analyst at Haim Securities, and also Rajat Bose, who's a SEBI-registered research analyst. Thank you so much to the both of you for taking the time and for joining us this morning. Good morning to you. Astha, I'll come to you first. First, your comments on IIFL Securities, and in that same vein, if this is not something that you like, among the other gold financiers, there are quite a few out there, and there are a few interesting names as well. Are there any that you would suggest that you can buy at this juncture?
Hi, good morning to both of you. Yes, talking about IIFL Finance, although we have seen a surge in the stock prices, and maybe this surge can go much higher, but we are not very much optimistic on this counter, and the only reason behind it is that in the financial performance of Q1 FY25, there was a degrowth in the bottom line. So that is the reason that we are not giving a buying rating on this counter, although we are maintaining a hold on this counter. because we are expecting the stock prices to move higher from here on the back of the news, which is just you talked about. So our price target here is more than 560, 570 odd levels, but we are giving a hold rating. Now, I think talking about the other gold lenders, I think we are not very much positive on the space as of now because we have seen a sharp rise in the gold prices. But from here, we really like to see how the results turn out to be, and then we will give any rating for any other company. So right now for IIFL Finance, it's just a hold from ours.
Okay. All right, that's a view on IIFL Finance. Let's jump into the questions then, and there are quite a few that have already come through. I'd like to tell you, if you're tuning in for the first time, that the number that you're seeing on your screen, that's where you send your questions to us. And if you're sending a message for the first time, please do tell us your name as well as where you're tuning in from. The first question I'm taking is from Prakash, and he's writing about Reliance Industries, which he's bought at levels of 3,000 rupees. He's wondering whether to hold it for a year or to sell it. There's also the bonus that is going to come through. The stock is up and about in trade today, up about 1.3, 1.4% or thereabouts, and trading just shy of the 3,000 mark. Rajat, on the chart, since he's talking about a year or thereabouts, would you hold this, and or rather, actually, some people would also ask, would you add more at this juncture?
You can add more, and you can continue to hold, because this has not tested its 200-day exponential moving average, which is currently around, say, 2860 or so. What I would say that this particular stock, once it crosses 2980 to about 3000 marks, then there would be a good movement on the upside, which would take it to 3100. Once 3100 is taken out, 3200 would be the target. But 1 year target, in my view, unless, of course, something catastrophic happens, not to the counter, but to the market. In that case, that would be a different thing. Otherwise, it would be 3,600. That is also possible in 1 year's time. See, Alex, one thing I would like to say is this, that after the Fed 50-point cut, I think the RBI would also go for a cut, and monetary expansion all over the world continues to happen. So asset price inflation will also continue to happen, and this is the lead stock in our market. So this will move. That is the point.
That's a fair point, and that is a fair point to make. But having said that, Rajat, you've made the point about a few stocks that have run up very substantially, and yesterday in trade, we saw quite a few of the mid-caps see a little bit of selling, in fact, quite a bit of selling. You saw quite a bit of cracks emerge in that space. To that end, I want to talk about Hindustan Aeronautics, because we've got Manu Chopra, who's bought at levels of 5,328, and he's wondering whether to buy more or at current price. Should he hold? What is the strategy that you would employ here? He's he's seeing a loss on this particular trade, despite the fact that HAL is up as much as 3% in trade today.
See, people have actually got into HAL at several points in time over the last 1 year, and especially maximum purchases happened between June and say current day. During these periods, people have seen that HAL has come down. HAL is going through a correction. The 200 exponential moving average is currently at 4016 for 4016, and today's performance is definitely encouraging, but it needs to take out 3 moving averages. First the 9-day, then 20-day, and then 50-day. After that, its bullishness would be confirmed and there would be further upside. Only problem in case of HAL is that the moment you shift from daily chart to the weekly chart or the monthly chart, you will see a parabolic rise. And parabolic rise, whatever be your quality, you will have to see either a range-bound movement, which is the best-case scenario, in just like say, the SRF and the Asian Paints have gone through, or you will see a nasty correction. In case of HAL, I'm not expecting a nasty correction. There could be a range-bound scenario. If it doesn't break 4,000, then 5,500 to about 5,500 would be the range for HAL.
Okay. There are people asking about view on gold. Before we do that, before we get your view, and Rajat, I'm curious if you have a view, so maybe I'll come back to you on a view on gold, because that's an interesting play as well. We've got viewers asking about whether to buy a gold ETF. But before we do, SBI is the counter that we want to talk about. And this is a question from Moni. She's writing in from Vishakhapatnam. State Bank of India was bought by him at a price of 394 rupees a piece. And that's quite an attractive buy price, despite the fact that the stock has dropped a bit from its above 800 levels in the recent past. He's asking whether to hold or sell at the current juncture. And I think I'll add one more question. Should you buy based on the fundamentals? Asta, so Rajat has already pointed out, turn in monetary policy imminent. From that perspective, what would you do with State Bank of India and the other banking names?
So talking about this counter, first of all, if I talk about State Bank of India, the credit growth was in line with the industry they have shown. And their ROAs are also stable. Return on assets are also stable. So these ratios are very important for any bank. And I think SBI is well placed on those parts. Now talking about the fall which we have seen, I think going forward, as numbers will also be coming, I'm talking about Q2 FY25, then I think we are very much positive on that counter on the basis of upcoming number. So my idea here is to stay invested in this counter, and maybe buying on dip strategy can also be applied. So buy on dips as well as hold is the strategy which we are giving to this counter. Initial price target can be set at around 840, 850 odd levels. Now talking about any other bank, then we are positive on ICICI Bank in the private banking space. Here we are positive because we are liking the financial performance by this bank, and their credit growth is maintained while other ratios are also at the stronger foot. So ICICI Bank is looking strong to us. Initial price target we are giving to this counter is 1400.
All right. I'll come back to you on the next question, which is on Piso Digital. And this is a question from Yash Jain. He's writing in from Nagpur in Maharashtra. He's already bought at levels of 62 rupees per share. The stock is currently trading very close to that mark, and he's got 1,000 shares, and he's wondering what to do, whether to hold for the long term. What are the fundamentals looking like, Asta?
So, Alex, I'm sorry, we are not tracking this counter in detail, so I'm not able to comment on it.
Okay, why don't I ask you then, in the space that it plays in, if there are alternatives that you have looked at? And if you don't have specific coverage on this one, would you suggest an alternative that he can invest in?
So again, it is a NBFC Finance, NBFC, and we are seeing that NBFC's as a space is looking very, very strong. So we are positive on the NBFC as a space, in that there are 2-3 counters which are looking good to us. Among them is one of the L&T Finance. I think L&T Finance is well-placed counter with a good parentage, so one can look at that counter also. And in fact, Piso Digital, prima facie, although we have not tracked it in the detail, but results were not very strong. I think it was only 3% upside on the bottom line which this company has posted. So my idea here is for the other space, that is L&T Finance, it is looking better to us, so go there. And for Piso Digital, maybe wait for the results, or book partial profit is advisable.
Yeah, it's very close to the buy price, so pay attention to that. I'm actually curious, Rajat, if you have a view on Piso Digital, if you bought it very close to the market price right now, would you hold on to this?
It is testing the 200-day exponential moving average quite a few times in the last 1 month. This means that there is some distribution happening. It is not bouncing back. Whereas it fell below the 20-day and the 50-day moving average, as well as the Bollinger Band is also suggesting that distribution is continuing. So I agree with Astha that it is better to switch to some other stock. He has recommended L&T Finance. That could be a better choice. But Piso Digital, at any point in time, if it were to fall below, say, 58, then there could be a sharp downside.
Okay. In the past week, gold has actually hit an all-time high in the international market. So I'm going to make an exception on this program, which is usually about stocks, to also ask about this commodity. If you look at the last 10 years, gold is one of the best performing assets. And from that perspective, Rajat, all of the tailwinds seem to be coming together for this particular asset class, because interest rate cuts are positive, a drop in the dollar is positive, and a change in monetary policy globally is positive for gold. Do you have any indicators on the charts that you're looking at that would support an upward momentum from this point, despite the fact that gold is at all-time high?
Well, first bit of the context. Now Fed has cut 50 bips interest rate. Two meetings prior, you must remember that they were sucking money in $60 billion each month. That has been cut down to $25 billion. And look at the Fed balance sheet. What Fed balance sheet from 2.8 to 8.2 it went up to. And now this reduction in money supply all over the world is not happening at any great pace. So gold is one major item that people would go for. Although gold has been seesawing between, say, in our market, 68. I'm talking about the futures, front month futures in MCX, between a 68,000 and 74,000, 75,000 kind of. Once it crosses 75,000 and sustains above that, maybe there would be a good swing up, at least a 5% gain. That is something like, say, 78,000 or 79,000 might be possible over a period of 1 year. See, you read Peter Oppenheim, you will understand what's actually happening. I mean, or say Sandy Nair, these people will tell you from their research that at this point in time, people would get into things like gold. So gold may dip, but gold is not going to go for any kind of a bear run or a major correction. It is going to go up.
Point. And thanks so much for giving us that context. It's important to note. SK Hore, who's writing in from Calcutta, and he's asking this question about BSE. He's bought in an attractive price, Asta, and he's bought at levels of 2,500. The stock is currently trading at very close to 4,000 levels. And he's wondering whether to keep holding or should he book some profit. What's the view here?
So talking about this counter, as we all know, I mean, the operating performance was very strong, and we have seen this strong rise in their bottom line due to the strong operating performance. In fact, the transaction income which this company has posted during the Q1 of FY25 was very strong. So, and now they are working on some areas like uniform charges across all the segment, etc. So I think if that's gonna happen, then definitely it will again give the boost to their financial performance. So my idea here is it is a good long-term bet, although here the investor is just doubling his money. But I think booking partial profit is better rather than booking, profit in all of the quantity. So partial profit booking can be recommended, but I think remain invested for the partial quantity, and price target which we are giving to this counter initially is 4,200 to 4,300.
Okay. Gateway Distriparks is the next counter that we're talking about, and it's not really had a great run in the context of the broader markets and how the markets have done as a whole. This is a stock that has declined about 10.3% in the year-to-date 2024. It's trading at very close to 94 levels. We've got Sudarshan from Noida who's asking this question. He's not told us his buy price, but he said that he is making minor losses in the stock. He's looking for advice as to whether to hold on or not. I'll come back to you, Rajat, on the charts. Should you hold on to Gateway Distriparks?
I would say sell.
Okay.
There is only one, this 4-letter word should be applied to this.
Sell. All right. So that's a very clear call that is coming through. Shyam Metallics is the next counter that we're talking about. And this is from Chandra. Chandra from Bengaluru is asking, any recommendation to buy this as a fresh buy for the long term? Asta?
So Shyam Metallic, it came 2-3 years before, I suppose, in a IPO. And afterwards, we have seen a rise in this counter. But now talking about this counter for a buying at the current moment, we are recommending to just wait for some more time and then make an entry into this counter, maybe after 1 month or so. Why? Because we are expecting strong set of numbers, but still we want to see the results and then make a recommendation on this counter. So wait till the results come and then make entry to the counter. Okay.
HDFC Bank, and not very often that we get a question on this, at least not in the recent past. We've got Bala Murugan from Chennai who's asking about this. He's bought at levels of 1642. which actually in the recent past is not a bad level to have bought it at. He's got 53 shares of this, and he's wondering whether to hold this for the long term. Asta, if I remember correctly, you mentioned ICICI Bank is your pick in the banking space. But what do you say about HDFC Bank that you bought at levels of 1642?
I think one can remain invested in the counter because as such, if we look after the fundamentals were good. In fact, the bank was very much confident of enhancing the profitability. Their cost to income ratio was also low. And in fact, loan to deposit ratio was also attractive. But I think it's better to wait for the results, because why I'm saying it again and again, for most of the stock options, we are very much approaching near the result season. And sometimes the results, they really change the whole story. So I think it's a matter of only 15-20 days now. So it's better to wait for the results. And if someone has this stock, because they are the investor, has the stock at 1600 odd level, then they can remain invested, because as such, the fundamentals are looking decent. But just for the new entry sake, I'm asking to wait for some more time.
Okay. Nazara Technologies, we've got Dalbir who's writing in from Indore, and he's bought this counter at a level of 970 rupees per share. It's in the green right now, and that he's making a decent profit. On the charts, Rajat, how does it look, and would you hold on to this?
It has given a reversal signal yesterday since it posted a high. I don't know whether it is the all-time high or the 52-week high, but it is also a bearish engulfing pattern. Today, it is kind of trying to regain its levels, but I really don't think that the volumes are suggesting anything great. So in that case, probably this stock is a better buy around 950. At current levels, one should exit and buy this stock between 950 and say 970. That would be much better.
Okay, fair point. IRFC is the next counter that we're talking about, and Darshan Mandaviwala, who's writing in from Surat in Gujarat, has bought this counter at a level of 185 or thereabouts, which is higher than the current market price. He's asking whether it makes sense to hold this for a period of a year or thereabouts. August 2025 specifically is what he's looking at. Do you have a view on this, Asa, and would you suggest doing that? It's had quite the run over the last 1 year.
Yes, but since the cost price is around 180-85 odd levels, I think it makes a sense to hold the counter rather than booking losses at this juncture. So talking about this counter, it is the lending arm of the railways, Indian Railways. And what we have seen that as Indian Railways are moving towards the new highs because of the strong demand and the strong work which is going on, definitely this counter will definitely going to benefit. So makes a sense to hold for this counter rather than exiting or booking losses.
All right. We've got a question coming in from Karthik, and he's looking for PCBL, which he's bought at levels of 490, and whether he can hold for the long term. Fundamental view on PCBL, Asa, what's it looking like?
Sorry, we are not checking this counter as of now. Can't give the fundamental
That's
view.
a fair point. It's okay. Rajat, anything on the charts that you'd like to say? He's bought at levels of 490.
See, from June, it has moved up more than, I think, 150%. So it is pretty overstretched in the short term. But unless it falls below 480, one can continue to hold, because when the move started around say 250, 280 kind of range, the volumes were exponential. So I would think that there would be more to see in PCBL, and as it is, it has not fallen below say 480 to about 460 support zone. Only when it falls below 460, then it becomes weak. So continue to hold on with a stop below 460. But since it has already seen a sharp rise, I'm not making any upper projections at the moment.
Fair point. All right, it's time to head into the rapid fire segment of the show. And Asta, you're familiar with this. Rajat, you as well. Do try and keep your answers as short as possible. And over the course of the next 2 minutes, we'll try and answer as many people as possible. Rashi Peripherals, if you have a view, Asta, on the fundamentals, we've got a viewer, Shivam, who's bought at levels of 408.86. Would you hold on?
Yes, we recommend hold on this counter because I remember it also came in the IPO few years back. Hold is recommended. Price target is at around 420 odd levels.
If you've got Dixon at IPO levels or during the IPO, Nikesh is wondering, should you hold it or should you book profits? Asta, this is for you.
Definitely some partial profit booking is always recommended because investor has made a strong profit. Partial profit booking only partially because they are still positive on this count.
All right, HFCL is the counter that we're talking about next, and we've got Sushila from Bellari, who's bought at levels of 158. Rajat, on the charts, would you suggest a hold or an exit?
Well, I will say hold with a stop below 150.
Oberoi Realty is the next counter. We've got Raju from Indore, who's bought at levels of 1,840. Should Raju hold or exit at this juncture? Asta, on the fundamentals, this realty company, would you hold?
Hold because profits are very strong. Recommending to hold. Price target can be set at around 2,000 odd levels.
Vivek is asking about Trent, which he has bought at levels of 4,900 for the long term. He's wondering whether to hold for the long term. He's in the green and making quite a bit of money. Asta, what should you do?
Because here the profits are high again. So I always say book some profit because markets are uncertain. So partial profit or maybe 1/4 of the position can be booked as a profit, but remain holding for the another one. Price target can be set at around 8,000.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this edition of Ask Profit. Rajat as well as Asta, thanks so much for joining in, for answering all the questions that you did. Viewers, we've tried to take as many questions as possible, but we've got limited time, and of course, we couldn't take all of your questions. There's more that we will take on Monday when we come back with Ask Profit. Do stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.